In this footage I had a GoPro strapped to my head, and it's some hiking I did in Maine where I spent the summer before heading west. I think I've stayed at about 30 different Walmarts all over the country. When you're in a small vehicle, you don't have a lot of space for a week's worth of food or water. I usually only kept a gallon of water on hand, so I needed to be near a store much of the time. Also, when you're doing a lot of traveling, there's so much research involved in finding tourist attractions. Where are they? How much do they cost? Are they pet friendly? What time are they open? You might not have a lot of extra time or inclination to then spend more time researching somewhere to sleep. So it's quick and easy to just Google the nearest Walmart. Also, when you're constantly in new places, the familiarity of a Walmart can be comforting. After a long day of driving, it's easy to just walk into a Walmart and you know exactly where they keep the ice, or the water, or the prepared foods. They're all pretty much the same, and they're everywhere. And I never once got kicked out of a Walmart parking lot. They mostly don't enforce the overnight parking signs. If you look closely at those signs, it's usually a city ordinance, and it wasn't Walmart's idea to post it. Except in California. I did a whole video called California Troubles. California is a whole different animal. But I have opted not to stay at certain Walmarts. For example, I was somewhere in Arizona, I think, and the Walmart had no overnight parking signs. But according to RVers on allstays.com, they didn't enforce it, and they stayed there overnight without any problems. But when I went there, I got some supper, and I was sitting in my car eating it, and I noticed a cop driving around the parking lot, which is actually a common sight at Walmarts. But then the cop parked and walked right by my car and waved at me. Maybe he was friendly and he was just going to get some food, I don't know. But he did notice me. My car never attracted any attention anywhere, but my license plate did. Not only did I rarely ever see a New England license plate outside of New England, but I did not once see a Rhode Island license plate outside of Rhode Island anywhere. So people would see my license plate and comment or ask questions about my travels. So I assumed the cop noticed my license plate too, and he would remember it if he were back at that Walmart during the night. So I left that Walmart and found a motel nearby with a decent-sized parking lot, and had a good quiet night. I had a few good nights at various motel parking lots. The biggest concern at motels is making sure they have a parking lot big enough that a guest won't go in and say to the desk clerk, "Hey, the lot's full, no place to park." And the motel staff might check license plates to see what vehicle doesn't match up to their guest registry. I was sometimes shocked when I would go to sleep at 10 o'clock at night in a motel parking lot, and there would be plenty of empty parking spaces, and then wake up at 6 in the morning and the parking lot would be full. There are a lot of people checking into motels after 10 p.m. So I would try to find motels that appeared to have way more parking than they needed. For example, I stayed at one motel parking lot that had a restaurant, so they had extra parking for that, especially since the restaurant wasn't open at night. Another place I stayed at was a rest stop on a secondary highway, I think it was in Montana, and that was a good quiet night. But most rest stops have no overnight parking signs, and I think the police keep an eye on that because I know in Massachusetts they had a problem with prostitution at rest stops. And I stayed at a couple of casinos, which is a favorite of RVers, and I had quiet nights that felt safe. Casinos usually have security and lots of cameras. I've stayed in strip malls that had 24-hour businesses, so a parked car wouldn't stand out. Those 24-hour businesses were things like McDonald's or Anytime Fitness. I've stayed at 24-hour grocery stores with no problem. I stayed at a 24-hour gas station once, and that was a pretty noisy night. And yes, I do have earbuds and a white noise app, but usually you want to hear what's going on outside of your car for safety reasons. I parked and spent the night on a couple of different streets in Pismo Beach. I got the police knock on one of those streets, and I think it's because it was close to an upscale neighborhood, even though it was behind a Walmart. I did end up finding a street to park on in Pismo Beach and stayed a week. It was a busy, noisy street, and I did have no choice but to use my earbuds and a white noise app. In New Orleans, I stayed right in the French Quarter at a pay parking lot. It was expensive at $40 for 24 hours, but it was worth it because of the amount of walking around you can do in the French Quarter. I just couldn't walk another 2 miles back to the New Orleans Walmart, especially with a 12-pound dog on my back. And $40 is still cheaper than a French Quarter hotel. The most unique place I spent the night was in Oregon at an airplane museum. I slept right next to a NASA jet and a military jet that were sitting right in the parking lot. My video of that is called Oregonzo. When I get back on the road, I'm going to be trying to stay on BLM land, national forests, and at free campsites as much as possible, which will be a new challenge and experience for me because I've never car camped or any kind of camped out in the woods. Not gonna lie, I am a little scared about that.
I'm scared to close my eyes. I'm scared to open them.